Now we have done quite a few configuration steps with identity. It's time to close everything that we have and open up our account controller and work on the register functionality. Now when we register a user, we have to store them in database, and we have that right here. But since we are using the ASP.NET Identity for all of the features, they have built-in methods that we can leverage. So for that, on top of Application DB Context, we will also be getting User Manager and Sign-in Manager using dependency injection. So first we have User Manager. We'll do control dot here to add Microsoft.ASP.NET Core.Identity, and in there you have to define what is the user. The user everywhere will be application user from now on. So let me call this as underscore user manager, and then we will need a sign-in manager which also applies on the user, which is application user. Sign-in manager by the name is responsible to sign in or sign out a user. Since we are working with an application where we have multiple roles, we also have to create those roles. For that we have a role manager, and role manager works on T-role. We are using the default implementation, so we'll say identity role, and we have role manager. Now we need to get all three of these using dependency injection, just like we did with application DB context. So let me do that. Perfect, so we have all three of those using dependency injection. Now we need to work on the post action method for register. So we'll just copy this and paste it one more time. And then for any post action method, you have to write HTTP post here, and we'll have validate anti-forgery token because we have a form tag inside the register which will automatically inject the anti-forgery token. Now what will be the model or parameter that we will receive here? That will be the register view modal. We'll do control dot here, and let me call this as modal. Now once you retrieve this model, let me open up the Solution Explorer and let me go to the register page. So inside the register view, we have the model as register view model. So when we post anything, we will be posting all of the properties like name, email, password, and confirm password. So inside the account controller, we will retrieve everything right here. Then inside the register, if we scroll down, we have the client-side validations. But it is always good to implement the server-side validations as well. So here we can add an if condition, and we'll say if model state dot is valid, only then we want to proceed further. So if the model state is valid, what do we want to do? We first need to create the user. So we'll say variable user is equal to new application user, and then we need to populate all of the properties from the model that we have. So first username will be model.email, then we have the email which will be the same model.email. We'll populate the name which will be inside model.name, and these three are the only required properties that we have right now. Then we'll scroll down here and we need to actually create the user in our database. So far in the first project, we were using application DB context. But when you are working with identity, as I said before, we have the helper methods inside user manager. So we'll say variable result is equal to await underscore user manager dot. You can see there are many helper methods. One of them is create async. This expects a type of application user. So right here, let me pass the user object. Right now you see an error message because we need to add async and task since we are using await and we are calling async methods. So perfect, this looks good. Next, we have to check if result is succeeded. That means everything was successful and we want to redirect to the home page. So we'll say redirect to action. Let's redirect to the index action of the home controller. That is the home page for our project. Now before you redirect, an account has been created. So what we can do is we can automatically sign in the new user. So for that, we have the sign in manager, and in there we have the helper method sign in async that expects a user object and then is persistent property. So for now we can just set the is persistent to false, but you can tweak that later on. Now right now we are just creating a user, but we are not assigning that user any roles. Actually, if we go back to our database and if we examine the ASP.NET roles table, you will notice that we don't even have any roles created. So we first need to create that. Let's continue with all of that from the next video.